I want to thank you so much for tuning into The Balance. Today's episode is called Let's Get Real, and that's what we're going to do. Chloe and Haley are actually kicking off my Black Excellence for this week. They are two talented singers signed by Miss Beyonce, the Queen. I love their music from the get-go. They have a beautiful EP called Two of Us. That one's dope. Sugar Symphony was dope as well. So I'm really excited for this new album, and I'm trying to support it any way I can. And I hope you guys do too. So moving on to more Black excellence for this week. So two Black students at Georgia Tech, they developed this app, which is basically for people who are having mental health issues or struggling in life, and it kind of sends out like a little bat signal to the people you list as your top 5. And so what it does is it alerts them like when you press the button that everything is not okay with you, that you could really need someone, and it alerts them to your location, which I think is amazing because sometimes you don't have that strength to, yourself say at that time, hey, I need help, and it's just easier to press a button, and it gives a location, which can be really helpful, to find someone, and maybe you can find them in time if taking their life is a possible option, which I hope not, but I really love this app, and I just want to say it's great, and shout out to them. Also, for Black Excellence, I want to say shout out to Tess Racer of Chicago. She developed a Wakanda curriculum. And so basically, she has where they talk about global anti-Blackness, African colonialism, American racism, and it's outside the Eurocentric perspective. So, they get to do it without like the regular Eurocentric curriculum being posed down their throats. They get to have real discussions and have real knowledge spread. And she's doing that all on her own. And that is amazing. Speaking of Wakanda, Black Panther, of course, as everybody knows, has surpassed the 1 billion mark, and also it has passed Avengers for being the #1 superhero movie of all time domestically in the United States. I believe that was achieved this weekend. Last I heard that it was on track to possibly beat The Force Awakens with its domestic totals in terms of the speed that it gathered the money. So also I would like to mention for Black Excellence is Clever Earth Products. I discovered them at a networking event in Atlanta. They have amazing natural products. And I really want to shout them out because they are, of course, natural, they smell good, and they're great for your body. And they are a Black business, and I always want to support Black businesses. A definite product that you should try is the hibiscus moisturizing syrup and the soaps. They're really good and they're really popular, and I'm going to try to put y'all on, so let me, okay? Check them out. They also have a Twitter if you're interested in their products and learning more. It's at clever_earth on Twitter. So check them out. They advertise their products. You can easily DM them, ask them anything you need to. So again, shout out to them. Great thing, great Black business. Moving on. So I also wanted to talk about Black news. And I want to start this off by saying rest in peace to Stephen Clark. Where can you be Black? You can't be Black, anywhere. It's ridiculous at this point. He was in his own backyard and they're, shooting 20 bullets at this man, claiming that first they think that the cell phone was a crowbar because that's what they're looking for, someone who's breaking into cars. Then they say they thought it was a gun. In this day and age, everybody knows what a cell phone looks like, and it doesn't look like it does not look like a freaking gun. So I'm sick of it. And I'm tired of them saying they fear for their lives when there's nothing to fear. The only thing to fear is the racism that's within you. And you are, like, I just don't understand the hate that some people can have and this abnormal idea of Black people as these super monstrous beings. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm tired of seeing it every day. I'm tired of reading it, hearing it, and it's sad. And the families, what they go through, and then just being scared because it can happen to any one of us. And what can we do? I mean, we film it, we advocate, we march, we do all that we can, and what happens? There needs to be that accountability that if you're going to do this, expect trouble, and I'm tired of Black boys and girls being gunned down and mass shooters and mass murderers and whomever and the like. As long as you're pale and looking like mayonnaise, you can freaking make it in alive. unharmed and unscathed, and I'm sick of it. And I wasn't, when I first had this podcast in mind and this episode in mind, this was not what I planned on talking about, because of course I was hoping that I wouldn't have to talk about something like this. But alas, again, here we are. And then how many times are we gonna be here? It's old, it's tired. Like, we need justice and we need our lives to matter. And we know our lives matter, and they need to realize that too. But again, rest in peace. And I hope and I pray that justice is served, because it's ridiculous. He was innocent, and now 2 kids are without their father. It's really sad. A little heavy moment. So moving on, we're also going to talk about more Black news. Boko Haram has kidnapped another set of Nigerian girls, 110. And this is not getting, any mainstream news, and it's not really moving about on social media. And it's something that I wanted to bring attention to. Bring Back Our Girls never ended. Just like, Flint, Michigan needing water, that never ended. And I think the problem that we have is that we're so, we will speak out and be fierce about issues for a little bit. We need to continue. We need to continue pushing, continue talking, continue fighting. We can't just let it go after a week or two. We need to keep that on the forefront. Keep that activism spirit. Keep talking. Just don't let things die, because then it just lets them keep happening and keep happening. And I'm proud of the students today and everyone who participated in the March for Our Lives. And I appreciate what they're doing, because they keep going and they keep fighting. And these kids are really brave and they're really strong, because right after an ordeal, they went out and they're fighting and they're trying to improve, our world. Because we do need gun control. Nobody's saying we want to take away your guns. We're saying we want to, have more regulation. Some guns you just don't need. Like these super powerful guns with all these magazines and clips that it can hold. It's just not necessary. You don't need that. You don't need a house stocked with 40 guns. If you want to protect yourself, you can have one gun, and you don't need the biggest, semi-automatic or whatever that you can find. It's not necessary. And we need more screening, and we need to block, people from getting guns, and we need to stop making it so freaking easy, because it's ridiculous. I mean, again, I asked earlier, where can you be safe? And it's the same thing. Where can you be safe? My kids in the future, will they be safe at school? Will they be safe in the movie theater? Will they be safe in a mall? Where can they be safe? They can't even learn in peace, because you know what? There's a freaking chance you might be shot today. And then all you'll get is thoughts and prayers from the people who are supposed to be looking out for your best interest. Because they're in the pockets of people like the NRA, who don't care about anything about guns and money, and that's all they care about. They don't care about lives lost. They don't care about hurt and pain left behind. And it's just so selfish. And I see people attacking these young teenagers who are out here being activists, being out here fighting literally for their lives and for the lives of other youth. They're fighting so people can go to school and not worried about having to get shot and die, or go enjoy a freaking movie and not being worried about getting shot and dying. They are fighting for something they shouldn't even have to fight for, but they're brave, and they just endure tragedy, and they just pull from that such strength, and they are being talked about like dogs, and they are even being sent death threats. And I just cannot understand it. So again, we just need to be mindful and just keep fighting for things, and gun control is needed. And again, I just want to thank the students out there who are fighting, everyone that joined their fight today, because that is important. So also, I would like to address the death of Marielle Frankel. She was an activist. She fought against police brutality, racism, and prejudice. She's located in Brazil, and basically she was murdered about a week ago. And from what I've heard, the bullets that were shot at from her, they were found to be from the federal police, and her murder was execution style. So that was clearly, the work of the government. They killed her. They're killing activists. want to create people and kill people who are trying to create change. And you know what? They're not going to stop us. We will not be silenced, and that's just how it is. Um, that's going to be a wrap for Black Excellence and Black News. Hey guys, welcome back. So I wanted to briefly talk about this cool thing or interesting thing that I saw in a TED Talk. So basically, you know how we have this whole thing on social media where we're like, oh, you should move in silence, or I'm moving in silence, or I'm not announcing any moves. So in the TED Talk, they actually address, should you move in silence? And basically, what they found is that, yeah, you should move in silence. Because basically, when you announce your goals to someone, if I say, hey, like, yo, I want to do this podcast, like, I'm going to do it, it's going to be broadcasted every week, and someone's like, oh, that's really good, that's great. Basically, that right there, that satisfaction you get from telling someone and then boosting you on doing it, that actually tricks your brain into thinking that you have done it, and that makes you less likely to actually go out and do it, and makes you like less likely to have that energy, that motivation, and everything. So in fact, you actually should move in silence, guys. um, and so before I get into one more thing I wanted to talk about today, I want to go quickly into celeb news. So if you haven't been living under a rock, and if you actually have your life together, then you'll know that Beyonce and Jay-Z are going on tour again, On the Run 2. Um, I heard that pre-sale tickets in LA sold out in 7 seconds, which is wild. But yeah, so pre-sale tickets for Beehive members, City Cart members, Title members, that all happened a week ago. And then on this past Monday, Journal Sale happened. The Atlanta show sold out, so she added another day, which is the next day, August 26th. So you guys, there's that other option. If you didn't get tickets before, you can get tickets now. There's been a lot of conversation on Twitter about how people don't want Jay-Z back. And I get it, because like literally he dragged Beyonce through everything. He caused her to miscarry so many times, and he put her through so much stress. And then it's like when you put stuff out there for the public, like you have to realize that they might not like, you might have forgiven him, but we not. Even though we're not in the relationship still, to know like he did such a shitty thing and he was such a shitty person, we not are going to just vibe with that again. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you tell your mama about somebody who did something wrong to you, like, your mama not going to like them no more, or your friends. So it's that same kind of thing. And all I know is, like, he really better not perform any 444 songs on there, because that's trash. I don't want to hear about how you stress my queen out. Like, we're not going to do that today. Blue Ivy actually wrote a note to her mom, and it said, thank you for loving me and daddy. And it really needed to say, thank you for forgiving daddy, because she really shouldn't have. But hey, whatever. Speaking of Princess Blue Ivy, you might have heard that at the Wearable Art Gala that Miss Tina Knowles and her husband Richard Lawson were hosting. Blue Ivy was actually in a bidding competition over a piece of art with Tyler Perry, and Blue Ivy actually bid $19,000 on a piece of art. Like, yes, young sis knows she has money. She told y'all she never seen a ceiling in her whole life. Like, Miss Little Queen is not playing with y'all. Like, she was like, here, mom, let's spend this little pocket change that you just got from like people's tickets. Like, let's spend this really quick on this piece of art. I might not even look at it the next day, but let's go ahead and do it. Queen status, boss, already. I can't wait to see how the twins turn out. They might be a whole mess just like Miss Blue. Trey Songz was arrested on felony assault charges. Apparently, he had beat up a fan, and she supposedly has documented injuries. One of the first things Trey Songz tweeted about it was this too shall pass, which I felt really was sketch about a whole situation. When you're being accused of beating someone, you just say this too shall pass. Like you just had a bad day at work, or like you ruined your favorite pair of Jordans or something. Like, that's just really weird when you're accused of something like this. But now he's been on Twitter and he's denying the charges against him, so we'll see how it all plays out. But I do think it's funny that he's not getting the same attention, and I hate Chris Brown, and for reasons why I'm going to get into just a second. But, we dragged him, he keeps getting dragged, but we're just letting Trey Songz slide. It's not getting much attention, and I do think, that we need to do better. We need to hold Trey Songz just as accountable. Like, yeah, Chris Brown has miles and miles of history as trash, but hey, Trey Songz ain't doing too hot either. But so we'll see how the case progresses and what happens and whatnot. And then about Chris Brown, I do notice that people always say like, oh, Rihanna forgave him and this and that. And I hope y'all know like Rihanna wasn't the only one he was trashed to. This dude, after he beat Rihanna, he was here acting a fool, like throwing chairs out of windows and getting into all kinds of trouble. And that was like a GMA Good Morning America spot. Like he was doing all types of trash shit. And even though y'all don't like Karrueche, he was also abusive towards her. That's why the judge granted her a restraining order. Remember, he was stalking her and going everywhere, like hopping in her car without her permission. Like, that's crazy shit. That's abusive shit. That's controlling shit. And I don't understand why y'all won't acknowledge that. Chris Brown has a history of being trash, period. He might be on chill status right now. Shout out to his daughter Royalty for helping tame him a little bit, but his history is more than Rihanna. And so that's for me why I have such hostility towards him. But hey, speaking of Chris Brown and Rihanna, Snapchat, which I'm assuming everybody's heard about by now, had this stupid idea to do an ad where it's like, oh, do you want to slap Rihanna or punch Chris Brown? What the hell? Snapchat is just stay fucking up lately. So anyway, Rihanna responded, now Snapchat, I know you already know you ain't my favorite app out there, but I'm just trying to figure out what the point was with this mess. I love to call it ignorance, but I know you ain't that dumb. This is important because people always want to say like, oh, these companies don't know, they might not have anybody on the board or whatever, or in general they know what they're doing, and it's so easy to figure stuff out whether or not it'll be problematic. So I just don't want to buy that ignorance thing. So shout out to Rihanna. Continuing on, she was like, you spent money to animate something that would intentionally bring shame to domestic violence victims and make a joke of it. This ain't about my personal feelings because I don't have much of those. Shout out to her, true queen, fuck feelings. But all the women, children, and men that have been victims of domestic violence in the past, and especially the ones who haven't made it out yet, you let us down. Throw the whole apology away. Look at her, queen of words, queen of wordology. So yeah, that wraps up celeb news. And the last thing I wanted to talk about today was self-care because again, that is very important. So, self-care, what is it? I am evolving and constantly thinking about what self-care means. Self-care can be, treating yourself, getting your nails done, getting your feet done, getting your hair done, or whatever, like those kind of things. But also self-care is self-awareness, recognizing your own faults, how you are problematic, because we're not perfect. And guess what, guys? You're probably problematic in some way because I'm realizing, hey, I've been problematic in some ways. I've been trash in some ways. And it's about realizing your possible toxic ways and changing yourself for the better. Because a lot of us don't really have that self-reflection. We don't have that time where we sit and think about ourselves because you know what? In some way, hey, we probably haven't been the best. So yeah, that's another thing that self-care is. And it's also letting go of people. You need to ask yourself like, hey, are they a trigger? Like, are they damaging you? Are they disrupting your peace? Like, what are they adding to your life? If they're not adding anything, then why are you there? Like, for what? And is there a mutual exchange of energy and effort? Shit like that. Self-care is taking your medicine. If you're on medication, whether it's for mental health issues or for a physical illness, taking that medicine, that's self-care. Going to therapy, journaling, eating right, drinking water, going to work, general hygiene, because that gets hard too when you're really down and really suffering from mental health. All of that is self-care. And then I go to therapy, and again, I'm really open about my mental health issues because I feel like I need to be for myself and just to be someone for others. And so one thing my therapist told me is to write one thing a day that I love about myself. And then what I say to people who say, well, I don't love myself, I have nothing to write. Well, write your best lie about what you love about yourself. Because in the end, the best lies always have a little bit of truth to them. That's why they're a good lie. So yeah, I'm going to end the show today with flashback songs of the day. This is something I want to do just to, remind us of some good songs in the past that we might have forgotten about. And I like to do it from different eras. So you know what? Today, from the 80s, the song that's going to be a throwback for you guys is Square Biz by Tina Marie. For the 90s, we're going to do two. We're going to do Flavor in Your Ear, Rest in Peace. And we're going to do Return of the Mac. Dope song. And then for the early 2000s, we're going to do One Wish by Ray J. Yeah. So again, today's episode was called Let's Get Real. I hope that's what I did. Thank you guys for tuning into my very first episode of my podcast, and I hope that the balance will become a part of your daily life. All right, peace.